Yo, what's up, guys? Sorry about the hiatus last week. I told you there was an issue with the internet out in Mexico. My family and I took a little spontaneous Christmas trip to vacation just to get away out in Mexico, and the internet was kind of an issue for us. So I knew that if I tried to make a 25-minute video and upload it, it wasn't going to have very much success doing that. So I just went ahead and decided to not stress about that and ruin a few hours trying to handle technology and ruin a few hours of quality family time with a bunch of our friends out there. So but yeah, none of that matters now. We're back. It feels good. I'm excited to kind of hit on a few topics today and kind of close out the 2020 year. It seems kind of crazy that we're even saying that right now for as wild as it's been. But that's the first thing that I really wanted to kind of focus on before we dive a little bit deeper into some of the sports stuff. It's like, for me, I told my friends a couple days ago, I had this, it was right after Christmas. It may be the 26th or so. So whenever that was, on Saturday, I guess, Saturday night, I just kind of had this moment of like just tranquility that kind of just overtook or overcame me as I just kind of sat there and reflected. It was just like this weird premonition almost of just me totally recollecting everything that has occurred and that we've all kind of overcome and been through together in 2020. And it was just, basically I text our group chat and pretty much just told them thank you, like, for being there for me, because, everybody, I know I'm not unique in the fact that when I say that I struggled with some things, mostly mentally, just kind of like battling the what ifs of my future and my career, with baseball, and then just struggling with income and just kind of all the unknowns of like, where do I go from here? Similar to, I'm sure, a lot of people have dealt with that. So, but yeah, I just told them thank you for giving me something to laugh about, just, a brief moment of distraction amidst all the chaos that happened throughout 2020. And, most of like what I focus on whenever I'm talking about like totally recollecting, it's the moments of basically between March and May, the first 2 months of the whole pandemic shutdown, when we knew nothing about what was going to happen. And for me, the biggest and I guess most significant part of that came from that unknown is it was like a form of sports depression, because that's all I've ever known my whole life. And then all of a sudden, everywhere I look on, whether that be, TV, I don't really watch a whole lot of TV, but when there's nothing else to do, then, you kind of have really no other choice. And so, the news is talking about it, the radio is talking about it, and I'm a big, sports radio fan as well. And so it's like all I hear about is what, if any, sports are possible or can be played, and how long until they come back. And, it's just the thought process of not only me not being able to play, my 2020 season got canceled too, obviously. So that was tough. And then, but just, my distraction from reality, which is watching, studying, analyzing, talking about sports, knowing that could potentially go away. It's like, kind of choking me up right now a little bit. I hate to get so super sentimental, but that's just how much it means. And then, just all that stuff going on, coupled with just, everything else, just a little bit of fear of, what is this virus? And then, like, do we have enough supplies? Remember the whole toilet paper scandal? Like that was a, basically the biggest talking point or at one point of the year. That just goes to show you how chaotic it was. Like, we're talking about toilet paper here. Like, what are we doing? So, but I just told my friends, thank you. And the reason why I wanted to highlight that is just because, like, so much, I think the biggest thing I learned from this year is, just never take anything for granted. And I did that. I was guilty of that. And I just wanted to kind of let them know how much I appreciate them, even though it's, kind of seems like it's a little too late. Like, I didn't say that really throughout the time and the struggle, but it was like we all kind of simultaneously knew what each other was going through. We just never really talked about it because that was our our little piece of paradise, I guess, or like it's just like our moments of just like us in the morning, saying, waking up and just seeing how everybody's doing, just chatting, and then just all the dumb things that we say and talk about. Those things are really, really ultimately what got me through the toughest parts of this year, and family too, of course. But I'm just using it as an example that's really pertinent to me. It's that your friends and your family, that's really and truly what's most important. And if we don't have that, then I'm not sure what we do have. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that and just basically explain that for me, I learned a lot of things, but most importantly, just don't take freedom, don't take your friends, and don't take your family for granted. Just tell people that you love them, and that's really all we can do, I guess, just because who knows where we go from here. But I'm excited. Moving on from that, I'm excited to hit the reset button on 2021 coming up. I think this Friday is New Year's Day. New Year's Eve on Thursday. So, I'm ready. I'm excited to hit that reset button. This year, it's like the New Year's resolution. I think is going to be huge. I've never really been a guy that's kind of goes deep into that stuff and says, hey, New Year's resolution, new year, new me. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay it out. But this year, I really do think after what we've already been through, it's like, I think that I am going to take that step and kind of join into with the crowd or with the masses, I guess, and take part and just really try to better myself, just because just knowing how quickly things can change. And so I'm really, really excited just to hit the ground running here in 2021. And I hope you guys are all, resetting, regrouping, and kind of looking forward to the same thing, and excited just to kind of get this world back on track to where it was before this past year. So anyways, first thing I want to talk about sports-wise, guys, you see the hat right here, the Dallas Mavericks. It's good to have them back on TV again. Good to see them playing well. I don't know how many of you tuned in or watched or heard about all the Mavs madness that was occurring literally in the midst of the Cowboys, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But if you didn't hear, the Mavs beat the Clippers yesterday by 51 points, I believe was the final. Sorry about that. Had a little phone call that just kind of interrupted my flow there. So where were the Mavs, right? So they ended up winning by 51 points, and to me, I just thought that was kind of funny because initially my first reaction was that was them sort of getting their revenge, I guess, on the Clippers from what occurred in the bubble. And if you don't recall that either, what basically happened was the Mavs gave them everything they wanted and then some. And granted, Kawhi Leonard didn't play yesterday, obviously, so that's a huge piece to not have if you're the Clippers. So, but anyways, last year or this year in the bubble in the playoffs, the Mavs took the Clippers to 6 games. But what was kind of going on in that a lot is, like, you could see the Clippers were the more physical team. They were the more aggressive team. The Mavs struggled defensively all year. That's really not a secret. But what stood out to me and to everyone else in that series is that they were kind of using that physicality to their advantage and on multiple instances attacking Luka in what, in a lot of people's minds, Mavs fans in particular, would say was a unsportsmanlike manner. And I know Mark Cuban has been vocal about that and spoken about how, the league should kind of look into it and maybe, assess fines or penalties or even suspensions. And I don't know if anything came of that, but just showing you how at the time, important or drastic those instances were. Luka kind of just getting attacked, and I just thought that it was funny that it all kind of came full circle. And the Mavs, after losing that series and dealing with what they dealt with from the Luka and Patrick Beverley and Marcus Morris situation between some flagrant fouls that were issued, whatever. It was just funny to see that kind of come full circle and the Mavs get their revenge. So obviously the Mavs are not 50 points better than the Clippers, and the Clippers aren't 50 points worse than the Mavs. It's like just one of those things that just the parity in the NBA. It's funny how it all works. And anecdotally too, it's like I think what's crazy about that is just 3 games into this season, the Clippers absolutely handled the Lakers in their opening day matchup this season, and then the Lakers absolutely handled the Mavericks. And then what did the Mavericks do? They go and handle the Clippers. So it's like this weird triangle, this love triangle there of just handing out beatdowns. But it's cool to see I think the state of the NBA that it's in right now is as good or better than it ever has been, just because it feels like every contender has multiple superstars and every non-contender has that cornerstone, like franchise altering piece already in place. So it's like no matter what game's on or what team's playing or who they're matched up with, there's an exciting young guy or a really good team always on. And so I just think that the state that the NBA's in, the level of competitiveness throughout all 30 franchises, just for reasons that I just spoke about, I think it's really cool to watch, and it just makes for pretty much must-see TV anytime there's an NBA game on. And just kind of going back to what I mentioned, like my sports depression that set in once I realized that there was a chance that we went all of the 2020 calendar year without any sports. Just having that on TV, that product, along with the NFL, and then ramping up for the playoffs and the eventual Super Bowl, it's so refreshing. It is awesome to me that people in positions of power are figuring out ways to make it work. And I'm just thankful for that as the year comes to a close. And it's just, it's just crazy to me just to kind of see it all come full circle. But a little bit more about the Mavs, just kind of some things that I wanted to highlight a little bit is like Josh Richardson, who we acquired this offseason, basically like our biggest acquisition, if you will. There, he said before the season started, the Mavs had been together for a week, I guess, since the league's date, or the league had basically said that they could get together and start practicing and prepping and camp leading into this upcoming season. Josh Richardson said that this was the most chemistry that he's ever been, within a team that he's ever been a part of in his entire career. Even dating back, I think he said, like in his college and high school days, like the chemistry that they have, and we kind of see that highlighted all the time with just Boban and Luka and their antics on and off the court. And like you got Luka with a God knows how many thousands of dollars worth of camera, just literally like pretending like he's taking pictures of his teammates. And just stuff like that, the way that they're able to keep the game light, but also it's like there's a time and a place for when you really buckle down and focus up. I think that's important, and that's something that we should maybe kind of think about. Like when you got a player of Josh Richardson's caliber, who is now at least the third, like right now the second best, but with a healthy Kristaps will be the third best player on your team. It's just kind of cool to see a guy like that who's been a part of 2 other really good franchises as well, in Philly and in Miami, the Heat and the Sixers, respectively. Like just a guy that's been around winning teams and championship caliber teams, to say that, just to openly acknowledge the chemistry that this team has and how that can, ultimately carry them throughout this season, I think is really cool and really, really exciting. It's something that we should be looking forward to. And so, kind of moving on, of that Josh Richardson talking point is a lot of NBA, I guess, really knowledgeable personalities maybe that I kind of pay attention to. And, I think even Sands and maybe Chris had talked about it a little bit. It's like the Mavs last year with a somewhat dinged up Kristaps Porzingis and having Tim Hardaway Jr. as your number 3, on the totem pole of stars, I guess. Like you got Luka, Kristaps, and Timmy. Like Tim Hardaway per se wasn't necessarily a good enough guy to be like a number 3 guy on a championship contender. So really, what they were saying is that the Mavs needed one more piece, one more free agent acquisition to kind of pair with Luka and KP that can kind of, be the Batman to their Robin, and then just let Tim Hardaway Jr. kind of be his, come off the bench and get you 16 to 20 on any given night. Just that spark, just the ability to space the floor out, stretch the floor, and just knock down threes, and kind of be that energy or that electricity that can come in at any given point, and just kind of play off of Luka and KP. But so now you add Josh Richardson into that mix, who is equally or more capable on both ends of the floor than Tim Hardaway Jr. I think that's something that's important for right now. So it's like, if the Mavs needed to do one thing and they needed to get that third guy, well, if it's pretty obvious that Tim Hardaway is their fourth guy behind those other three, then they're moving in the right direction. And so, do I think the Mavs are a top 3, top 4 team in the NBA? No. But do I think they're a top 3, top 4 team in their conference in the West? Yeah, I do. And I think that we're going to, if all of those things kind of come into play, and then with a healthy complement of, Luka, of KP, who is on track, I believe, to be back before February, which would be huge. You get that healthy complement of role players to go along with your studs, finally fully healthy and ready to go, then we saw what the team's capable of. Last year, they took who a lot of people had pretty much penciled in to be the favorite to win the finals. They took them to 6 games and gave them everything they wanted. So with a fully complement or a healthy complement of role players and those guys, and you add a guy like Josh Richardson who can come in and be your second or third best player, I really like the current state of what's happening. And then so the only other thing I really kind of wanted to focus on was Luka's 3-point shooting percentage. That's something that he's acknowledged he has to be better at. It's more of a shot selection, not like necessarily a shot capability. But last year I think he shot 31% from 3, shooting around 10 a game, which that's kind of a lot. That's a lot of 3-point shots going up from one guy to be shooting at that percentage. Steph Curry averages in that range as well, but he's hitting closer to a 40% clip. So it's like, you've got so much room for improvement just from an efficiency standpoint. So if the shot selection improves, if Luka continues to develop his free throw game, because he's going to be a guy with the ball that's always in his hands, his ability to create not only for himself but for other teammates. He's going to be a guy that's consistently gets to the line. And so he's going to have to start knocking down free throws at a much more efficient clip as well. But, he's already just, small sample size, obviously, but through 3 games, he's shooting 80% now, which is much, much better. I think he was in the low 70s last year. I'll have to fact check myself on that. But those 2 things, he's still a kid, and just to see the way he's sort of taken over the NBA and pretty much, taken it by storm and really not even fully developed his game just from a perspective of like the efficiency at which he shoots. So those are the things that I'm just really excited about. So I wanted to hit on that. And then I think that's about it on the Mavs. But yeah, so now to the most highly anticipated part of this video, I'm sure, as most of you may agree, the Cowboys. Okay, so what went down yesterday? Basically, I'm gonna just lay it out like this. It's if you don't know, the Cowboys are now on a 3-game win streak, 3 in a row, and with that win yesterday and Washington's loss, basically now what has to happen is if Washington wins, they're in. Okay, so they play the Eagles this coming Sunday, and they flex that. The NFL has flexed that to the night game, so that's gonna be crazy drama, crazy hype. It's another thing, just back to the parity of sports and professional sports. The NFC East all year has been the laughing stock of the NFL, and for good reason. But now I think it's just hilarious that it's arguably the most drama or the most hype going into the last week of the season. It's just everybody's focused on one division, and that same division happens to be the one that we've all been laughing at all year. It's just ridiculous to even think that we're in this position right now. But here we are. So 3 weeks ago, I'm on this channel talking about, Cowboys are 3-9. We have a locked-in top 5 pick right now. Let's just keep losing. Let's, just stick to the process and get that top 5 pick, trade that top 5 pick down, and just add and stock up on draft capital, right? Well, 3 weeks later, here we are on a 3-game win streak, sitting at 6-9 with a chance to win, beat the Giants, and be 7-9. And if we get help from the Eagles, if the Eagles win, they beat the Redskins, then the Cowboys are now looking at hosting a playoff game. And what was I saying also, a few weeks back? It's like, why would I want us to try to win this division, pick 19th? Because if you make the playoffs, the absolute lowest you can pick in the draft, or highest, I guess, the best draft pick you could get is 19 overall. So it's like, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to just intentionally, hang another banner, another division title banner that says 7-9, 2020 from the rafters at AT&T Stadium, and then go and get blown out by, I did say the Bucs too. I think I said it would either be the Bucs or the Packers at the time. And then, for what? Just to be picking 12 spots lower than where you otherwise should be. It's just like, to me at the time, it didn't make sense. And part of me still wishes that were the case. Like, I have been wanting a top 5 pick, and I have been wanting to trade that pick. And just because I thought there were so many holes that we needed to fill, that one pick or one position or one player wasn't going to fill all that. But now it's like, to me, it just seems as if, well, let's just look at it this way. Pretty much as fans, like, it's our job to always kind of root in what's in the best interest of the franchise, right? The whole team tank idea, that was never a derivative of something within the organization. Like, the organization, from executive all the way down to coach, all the way down to player, all the way down to employee, like, those people are trying to win because their jobs depend on it. But for us as fans, if we objectively look at the product and what's out there on the field, that is why I've been on this team tank the whole time, and why I still wish that we were kind of. It's just because I thought that there were so many holes to fill. But now it's like, as a fan, we're right now picking 11th in the draft. So the whole team tank idea is dead. So whether or not I want that to be the case or not, it's dead. So now I have really no choice but to root for us to win this week, and for us to, or I guess for Washington to get beat by Philly. So that's just the way that it is. There's nothing that any of us can do about it. It's just reality now. So I guess just to kind of like try to tie this all back together, the whole reason why I'm not flipping my rooting interest, I guess, but what I'm doing is I'm accepting that my initial best case scenario is now gone. It's out the window. And so I have to accept the fact that if we're going to be not in a great position, like at the very top of the draft, well, we might as well just win one more game, hope that Washington loses one more, and then just enjoy the excitement of hosting a playoff game in the process, regardless of what happens, if we get blown out or if we even have a chance to win. Like, if, as everything stands right now, we'd be hosting Tampa, the Bucs, who, if you've paid close attention to this channel, has been my pick to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. And I still stick by that. I think that what they have offensively, the weapons that Tom Brady has, the experience that Tom Brady brings, and then just the dominance that front seven brings on any given Sunday is a recipe for, like, if that team gets hot, there's no one that stands in their way on this side of the on this side of the conference, the NFC. And so I still think that, and we saw them finally catch fire and finally click, and they hung dang near 50 points on the Lions this past week. So, just to kind of bring that all in, wrap it all up, to me, it's like, well, we've already wasted the whole team tank idea anyways by winning 3 in a row. So yeah, I mean, you might as well go win this week and just hope that Philly takes care of business. And then, guess what? Here we are. We're hosting a playoff game, and Tom Brady and the Bucs are coming to town. So it's like, for me, it's cool because, yeah, obviously rooting for a playoff spot is way better and way more exciting in the moment than it is to root for a draft spot or a draft pick. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to enjoy these next couple weeks, and whatever happens, happens. But I think it's just crazy to think that we're in this position. But one other thing that I wanted to kind of highlight is that I think what's lost in all of this. So like, let's just say that the Cowboys win, they're 7-9. And let's say that Philly loses. So Washington represents the NFC East. They're hosting Tampa in Washington, right? Well, what's to me more important than any of that, than potentially winning a playoff game, than potentially picking in the top 5, what's most important to me right now is that the Cowboys have won, or will have won, assuming all those things that I just stated are true, 4 games in a row. And so that's just momentum carrying into next year. Like that stuff is so huge. I can't even state the importance of how big that stuff is. Just momentum, carryover, just the level of like the contagiousness that type of that like winning or championship mentality can carry into a locker room and spread just throughout an organization. It's contagious, guys. Like that's why people hate the team tank ideas, because like you don't want to create a loser's mentality. Well, now this team, against all odds, with everything that they've dealt with through the critics in the media, the critics from their fan base, all the injuries, literally I can't even count them on two hands and 2 feet. Like, there's so many things that have stacked against us this year that to defy that and against all odds win 4 games in a row there's something to be said about that. And I think Mike McCarthy deserves a lot of credit. And I think he's going to get some of that credit. It's not in this league, it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. And that's why I'm saying it's like, if you win 4 games to finish the season, do y'all understand? Like if you go on a 4-game win streak in the playoffs, you're a Super Bowl champion. Literally, like that's all it takes. If you win 4 games in a row in the postseason, you're a Super Bowl champ. Now, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen for the Cowboys. I'm just saying hypothetically, like let's say we win this last game and Washington wins as well. We still won 4 games in a row. That's incredibly hard to do. So, and then just you completely just, if you take away everything else and just look at it for what it is, that's already impressive. If with a full slate, a full healthy, I guess, cast of players. But when you take away starting left tackle, starting right guard, starting right tackle, starting center retires, franchise quarterback done for the year in week 5. Zeke missed a game last week. Leighton Vander Esch has missed 6+ games this season. Who, if you don't know, the Cowboys, when Leighton Vander Esch plays, they give up 4.1 yards per carry on the ground. When Leighton Vander Esch doesn't play, they give up over 6 yards per carry on the ground. And I've highlighted in the past as well, when a running back averages 6 yards per carry, he's an elite level running back. Very few guys do that. Okay, so that just kind of goes to show you how important Leighton Vander Esch is. And then you add in. You lose Gerald McCoy, who was supposed to come in and be your starting 3 technique defensive tackle, shore up the interior of your defensive line and slow the run game down. He's gone on the first day of practice, literally tore his quad, done for the year. You get, who else? Who else am I forgetting here? Trayvon Diggs, your top defensive draft pick in this past draft class, who's shown a lot of promise at the time, was arguably your best corner on the field. He missed 4+ weeks. Like, the list goes on and on, guys. So it's just against all odds. If you take away all that stuff and then you say the Cowboys finished strong, they won 4 games to end the year. That's huge. But then if you add in all those things, those outside factors, it just goes to show you a lot about how the fight that this team possesses and the job I think that Mike McCarthy is doing, just keeping the ship righted and just making sure that everybody stays focused, everybody keeps working, and they push for next season when they can reset, get all their guys back, all their cornerstone players, and just their dudes, right? They get all their dudes back, and then you reset and you go from there. Sky's the limit, right? So you've got that confidence that's going. So regardless of whether or not we host a playoff game is irrelevant. Regardless of whether we're picking in the top 5 is now to me irrelevant. Like that stuff's all out the window now. It was all hopeful optimism and whatever else you want to say that it was before today. But in this moment today, that's where I stand, and that's how I feel. So I guess the last 2 things, just kind of wrap that up. I know I went on a deep tangent there, but I just wanted to make sure that we kind of all understand the context of what's going on. And just, yeah, so we're going to leave it at that. But the next thing that I wanted to talk about is the college football playoff, and particularly Texas A&M, who I've addressed as well. I said that I think it was 2 or 3 episodes ago, during the mailbag segment, answering Paige's question, I talked about A&M and what it would take for them to get in. Well, I said that if they would have to hope for, they obviously went out, A&M, takes care of their own business, whatever. And then in the Clemson-Notre Dame ACC championship game rematch, you'd hope for Clemson to throttle Notre Dame to the point to where you get the committee, their mindset thinking, oh, well, Notre Dame is only in this position right now in the top 4, fighting for a college football playoff position and in the running to, in the ACC title game, basically because of the absence of Trevor Lawrence. Well, that happened. They absolutely got throttled by Clemson with a healthy Trevor Lawrence. A&M took care of their business. They were, sitting at 5, right there on the outside looking in, and I was wrong. The committee thought that, maybe I don't know for sure that this is their thought process, but clearly, for whatever reason, they think that Notre Dame is a better team, or maybe they think that Notre Dame is a bigger brand, which, as much of a brand giant that Texas A&M actually is, I do think that Notre Dame is one of the maybe 4 around the country that is in fact bigger, and that does generate a bigger following and a bigger attracts more eyes, I guess, and generates more money. But at the end of the day, revenue is king and money talks. And in a year in which literally everything, like the NCAA, they lost billions of dollars by not having March Madness, which is the March Madness, I don't know if you guys know, is the number 1 revenue generator for the NCAA, bigger than the college football playoff, college football national championship, college World Series, by far. March Madness is the number 1 revenue generator in the NCAA, and so they're going to do whatever they can to make up for that lost revenue. And so as an A&M fan, like, if you guys, obviously not me, I mean, I don't know if y'all have noticed, hook 'em. But if you're an A&M fan out there, you're pissed, and I think you have a very legitimate reason to be that. And if it were me, if it were my team, I'd be raising all sorts of hell and losing sleep in the process. But it is what it is, and you just have to kind of appreciate where you are, where you've been, like where you've gotten this year, and then just look at it from a perspective of, well, this is a much better season than we anticipated. We didn't anticipate being on the outside looking in, having a chance to compete in the college football playoff. So you flush it and you move on. Just like I was talking about the Cowboys, you have momentum generated now for the 2021 season, and in the state of Texas now, college or high school recruits, they see that, they pay attention to that, and so not only do you have one of the 2 biggest schools in the state of Texas, where football is king, always has been, always will be. Now you get to pitch the idea of, hey, we should have been there. We got gypped. We represented the SEC. We played, this is another thing I said too. It's something that Jimbo Fisher can walk into living rooms and say, and in recruiting next year, he can say, look, our best resume win was against a team that took who I think is going to be the national champion this year, Alabama. I don't think anybody's playing with them. But A&M beat Florida, and Florida gave Alabama everything they wanted and then some. Notre Dame beat Clemson. That was their number one resume, their talking point or their biggest win, right? Well, Clemson didn't have their best player at the time. A Heisman contending potential number one overall pick, best player. So, it is what it is. It's going to be, it's Bama, it's Clemson, it's Ohio State, and it's Notre Dame. I like Bama to handle Notre Dame probably easier than Clemson did. I like them to blow them out. I like Clemson to win again against Ohio State, and I like Bama to win it all. So that's where we are. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. It's going to be fun to watch, but yeah, A&M fans, I feel for you. I can't say that I'm sorry that you didn't get in. I'm not, but I do feel for you. I can definitely put myself in your shoes and see, why you're upset and why you have every reason to be. And so lastly, the only other thing I wanted to talk about was just who I think is kind of obvious, but just my MVP for the NFL this season. To me, it's Aaron Rodgers, as good of a season as Patrick Mahomes is having. Just kind of want to look at some of the numbers. So Mahomes' MVP season when he did win, 2018, he completed 66% of his passes, which is, it's good. That's about roughly league average. 50 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 5,000 yards for a 4.1 touchdown to interception ratio. Okay, really good. Really, really good numbers. This year, for comparison, 66% of his completions. So those two are the same. 38 touchdowns, down from 50. And this is the same amount of game sample size too, assuming he doesn't play next week, since they've already got the division or the first round bye locked up. He will have played 15 games total, the exact same amount as he played in 2018 when he won it. So those two things are staying neutral as well. So 50 touchdowns down to 38 this year, but he also cut his interceptions in half from 12 to 6 this season. So his touchdown interception ratio actually drastically increased from 4 to 6, but he threw for 300 fewer yards. So not quite as crazy, gaudy, impressive numbers, but still definitely worthy of MVP consideration. But to me, it's Aaron Rodgers, and it's for this reason alone. I mean, he's thrown for 4,000 yards, 44 touchdowns, 5 interceptions with a 8.8 touchdown interception ratio, almost 9. So for every interception that he throws, he's throwing almost 9 touchdowns. That doubles Mahomes' ratio in 2018 when he won it. So that was the kind of like the kicker to me, and then doesn't even talk about his 70% plus completion percentage right now. So to me, it's Aaron Rodgers. They were getting a lot of, catching a lot of flack or criticism for last year. He kind of had a down year statistically, but they won 13 games. They were saying, how the games that they won, their one possession games that they won, it's unsustainable, and that they would likely see a massive regression to the mean from a wins and loss perspective. And here they are looking again. They still haven't clinched the first overall bye. They still have that to play for next week. So they've got to go out and beat the Bears, who also have to win to get into the playoffs. So that's going to be another exciting game to basically finish out the year as well, and see who comes out of the regular season in the NFC on top with that first round bye. But both teams have a lot to play for, and so those numbers for Rodgers are going to continue to increase, whereas Mahomes, who's probably not going to play, his are kind of going to stay put and stand packed. But nothing against either guy, nothing against Mahomes in particular. I just think that with what we're looking at right now, just between a couple very few, or 4 roughly statistics, to me, it's a no-brainer. And then just what you see, the confidence on television and just the command that he has, and it just feels like the Packers are beating really, really good teams and having literally who are pretty much providing little or no resistance in the process. It's like the way they handled the Titans last night, who a lot of people think can challenge to come out of the AFC as well, challenge the likes of the Chiefs, the Steelers, the Bills, whoever, to beat them down the way that they did physically, control the line of scrimmage, and then just absolutely pretty much wasn't a game from halfway through the third quarter on. It was out of reach. So just what we're seeing them do as a team, and just the confidence, it's almost like a confident arrogance that Aaron Rodgers is back to playing with. To me, that just makes him my MVP candidate. So yeah, I know that's a lot to break down and to take in, but if you guys made it through the entire episode today, episode 11 of the LANDO show, I do appreciate y'all. You know what to do from this point. Like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos to come. But once again, thank you. I appreciate it. And then I hope you guys all have a safe and happy New Year.